Welcome back. It's Monday, week 2. Here we go. Congratulations. This is so awesome. Now, how did the buffer zone go? Did you introduce the good, healthy vegetables and fruits and alkalizer during the buffer zone, or did you wait till today? Either way is totally fine. That's how the buffer zone works. It's really important to understand this. The buffer zone is a zone that allows you to introduce the changes from each week gradually, if at all. It allows you to do it on your pace and also allows for some really interesting psychological observations. We'll talk more about that on Friday as you enter into the next buffer zone. So let's recap what we're doing this week. What we're doing this week is we're focusing on the fact that our health is far more affected by getting enough of the good stuff than by eliminating the bad stuff. While it is important to eliminate a lot of bad stuff for many people, what's far, far more important is getting our basic nutritional requirements met. That's what we need to have. Remember, if somebody is eating the perfect diet and we remove some of the nutrients from that diet, they're going to get sick even if they're having nothing bad at all. So the first job of ours here is to improve our hydration and nutrition through the enhancements that we've added so far. So all you really need to be focused on this week in terms of enhancements and terms of changes is that you're still drinking 6 to 8 glasses of water a day, you're still doing your breathing exercises twice a day, and you're adding in the fruit in the morning on an empty stomach. You're adding in the alkalizer again in the morning on an empty stomach with the fruit or just after the fruit. And you're adding in an unreasonable quantity and variety and quality of vegetables throughout the day while maintaining everything else. I also want to offer you a little bonus that you can think about, and that is that if you're in the meat eating camp, if you currently eat meat and fish and that kind of stuff, I'm going to ask you this week to just see what you can do to increase the quality of it a little bit. What I mean is that if you have a choice between a piece of bison and a piece of beef, maybe go for the bison. Lean, quality natural meats. If you have a choice between farmed fish and wild caught fish, you want to go for the wild caught fish and avoid the farmed fish. This is optional. This is optional. All I'm really saying is that if you have the capacity and the budget to go out there and go for organic versus farm, factory farm and all that kind of stuff, you're going to want to just improve the quality of the animal products that you are taking in. That's it. That's the focus of this week. So while we do that, we're going to keep up the focus from last week. So what are we doing? We're paying attention to our dialogue. Only this week it's going to get really interesting because you see, as you begin to improve your nutrition, and many of you already have over the course of the weekend, here's what's going to happen. We've already silenced the thirst hunger. The thirst hunger is sitting in the corner over there, happy. So when the emotional hunger guy goes along and he goes, "Hey, thirst, I'm feeling a little down. We should have some popcorn." The thirst hunger is going, "Go for it. I don't really care." Uh-oh. And now that we're building up the nutritional hunger, the nutritional hunger guy, he's going to be sitting in the corner with the thirst guy, also very happy. So emotional hunger is going to go, "Oh, come on, nutritional hunger. Thirst won't join me for a binging expedition on this or your popcorn." And the nutritional hunger is going to go, "I don't feel like it either." Nice. That's what we're talking about. That's what we're looking for. So really pay attention to your dialogue because now the food angel is going to start having a louder voice. Like you might try to order yourself some pizza this week and the food angel is going to be like, "I really don't want to do that. My thirst hunger's not in on it. Nutritional hunger's not in on it. I don't really want to do it." And the devil's going to be like, "Yeah, but Eric's bound to start removing stuff next week. We really should get some in now." "Yeah, but I'm the one that has to live in this body this week and I don't want to feel that way." "Yeah, but Eric said," "Oh, all right." I want you to notice that dialogue. Really notice it. Notice what triggers, tricks, and tools the food devil tries to use to rile up irrational hunger, to get you to eat, and then give in to it so that you can then do the next bit of focus, and that is to pay attention to the way food really is. There's this food timeline. There's how you felt before you even decided to eat the food. Then there's how you felt once you decided to eat the food. There's a magical moment that takes place there. What you might not recognize is that your body creates chemicals to make you feel. I'm going to prove it to you. Have you ever had a to-do list? Come on. Have you ever had a to-do list on your desk and then you did something that wasn't on the to-do list? So you then added it on the to-do list so you could tick it off. Have you ever done that? Why do you think you do that? If you do that, it's because it produces hormones in you that make you feel like you're completing stuff, and it wouldn't feel the same if you didn't take it off, right? A lot of our emotions are just chemical reactions in the body. So here's a really funny thing. You feel a certain way, and then you decide to eat some food. You decide to give yourself a treat, right? Maybe to treat yourself badly, but it's still a treat. You're gonna go, all right, I'm gonna have some ice cream or pie, or I'm gonna have some raw vegan cacao, whatever you think it is that's particularly healthy in that moment that maybe really isn't. And in that moment that you decide to have it, you'll actually start to feel better before you even started eating. That's a really neat thing to notice, because what it means is that food has a meaning for you. That you have an emotional rule about that food, that food, eating it, gives you a sense of completion, a sense of celebration, and a sense of freedom. So pay attention. So there's the way you felt before you ate. There's the way you felt once you decided to eat. Then there's the way you felt as you started eating. And also the way the food tasted. The way the food tasted. You see, because like many things in life, it's the first taste that tastes good, and then it stops. And then it's just autonomic eating. In fact, I want you to think about it. Our bodies evolved as the perfect non-starvation machines. The number one cause of death through history has been starvation. And so our bodies evolved not to starve, right? So we have all these instincts to prevent starvation. One of them is the ability to eat without thinking. The ability for us to go walking around in the fields and just eat food and not have to think. And we can pay attention to the horizon, keeping an eye on the threats and opportunities around us, and just stuffing our face. Ever found yourself eating something unconsciously? I think probably. And so that's the next part of the timeline that we want to pay attention to, is that spot on the timeline where you really notice how food really tastes and how it really begins to make you feel, from the first bite to the second bite to the third to the fourth to the automatic bites, to the point where you're actually cleaning off the plate and you weren't even hungry anymore, maybe. And then we want to pay attention to, how do I feel when I've just finished? How do I feel when I've just finished in that moment? And then, ever so important, how do I feel half an hour or an hour later? Because I want you to really think this through. There are many foods that make us feel bad an hour after we've eaten them. What if you felt that way when you smelled the food? What if you felt that way with the first bite? Would you ever eat that food again? No. But that's the real honesty of nutrition, is how the food made you feel later, not how it made you feel in the moment. In the moment, it's your emotions that made you feel that way. An hour later, it's the food that made you feel that way. How does it really make you feel? So that's the next thing that we're focusing on. Your dialogue, and then your whole set of emotions, the whole experience, the food timeline. You're going to pay attention to before the decision, the first bite, the second bite, the next bites, how I felt after I ate it, how I felt long after I ate it. And then the idea is, and many of you will start to notice, that you start to be really conscious of the fact that a given piece of food is not going to make you feel good, and you might find yourself not wanting it anymore. And then what are you going to do? Eat it anyway, because you're not supposed to cut anything out yet this week. So let's recap what this week is about. This week is foundational. These first 2 weeks are about laying psychological foundation, about breaking old habits and creating new habits. And I want you to really think about something. What is the most important thing to your health? What is the most important thing to your health physically? Air. I mean, if you really think about it, we can go minutes without air, and then there's a major problem. So air is the first thing. That's why we have our 5-5-5 breathing exercises, right? Then the next most important thing to your health is water. We can go a lot longer than minutes without water. We can even go hours, but you know, when we start trying to get out to days without water, we have a problem, right? So that's why we then prioritize water, 6 to 8 glasses a day. Then food enters into the mix. But how long can we go without food? I mean, I'm not recommending any fasting right now. We can talk about that another day. Right now, all I want to talk about is, how urgent is food? Air is measured in minutes. Water is measured in days. What's the measurement for food? Do you have to have food every day? Now, I'm going to suggest that you absolutely do have food every day right now. And again, we can talk about fasting another time. I do want to point out, however, that we have lots and lots of evidence out there. People who have done hunger strikes and all this kind of stuff, and people who have done long-term fasting. It is absolutely clear that people can go for weeks, even in some cases months, without food. So first we focus on our air, then we focus on our water, and now we're focusing on improving our nutritional load from food. So there's often some questions that come up at this point about, let's remind us about the way the fruit should be having, like how much fruit should you be having? We're really suggesting at this point that you have at least 2 or 3 pieces. There's no real limit on it though. If you want to eat more, absolutely you can eat more. At least 2 or 3 pieces, however. And again, on an empty stomach. It's not something you should be snacking on later on in the day. Once you've switched to other foods, fruits out. And then the Alka-Geyser, again, should be had in the morning while you have your empty stomach around the same time that you're having the fruit. And you can certainly change up the Alka-Geyser. I suggest that you use it like a base. So if you want to add different types of vegetables to it, if you want to add different leaves to it, if you want to add different fruits and that kind of stuff to it, you go right ahead. You can change it up. And if you would like to have more Alka-Geyser, you certainly can with one proviso. It's best not to have the Alka-Geyser with fruit in it after you switch to concentrated foods. So if you would like to have an Alka-Geyser, say later in the day, then you can make an Alka-Geyser Prime. That is an Alka-Geyser without fruit in it, and you can try that. I can tell you right now, the odds are against you enjoying that. But you might. It's a very, very green and very bitter smoothie. People are also often curious about, can they have frozen fruits? So this is more a matter of prioritization. In other words, the best kind of fruit is going to be picked right off the tree. The next kind is going to be the organic, best quality fruit you can get. And then there's other fruit after that. Now, inside that prioritization is frozen fruit. Frozen fruit is absolutely okay. I just would argue that it's not quite as good as fresh fruit. So yes, occasionally frozen fruit's going to be nice. In fact, I'll tell you that I prefer to put frozen fruit into a smoothie than I do fresh fruit because I like a more of a frozen cold kind of a smoothie. So you certainly can use frozen fruit, but I wouldn't suggest that frozen fruit is the main way you're having it. It's an occasional way of having it. And sometimes people are asking us about food combinations. I will tell you that one of the principles of WildFit is that we should be doing the best we can to focus on mono meals. You're not to make this change right now. You're to keep eating the way you did before, but we'll talk in the future more about mono meals. That is a meal that's really made up of 1 or 2 main ingredients instead of 5 or 6 or 8 or 10 or what have you. Now, fruit itself, some fruits will cause people challenges if they combine them together. So people often ask, can I have a big fruit salad? Yes, unless it bothers you. So sometimes people suggest that melons should be eaten on their own outside of a fruit salad, like that melons with other fruits will cause them digestive issues and so on. I don't want to get into a big debate or conversation about the combinations of fruit. What I would say to you is that if it's comfortable for you, it's okay. And if it's uncomfortable for you, change the combination. And with that, I want to offer one more thing. Some of you might have what we might call cleansing reactions this week. Like, for example, all this fruit is going to go into your digestive system and it's going to just start to push. It's going to start to cleanse out. And so you might find yourself having a different bathroom experience than you're used to. Like, you might find there are even times when you want to stay near the bathroom just in case, because with all this extra fruit, it'll take your body some time to adjust to that and get used to it. And so you might find yourself having, a more fluid situation than you're used to. That's absolutely normal and it's absolutely okay. You might also find that there's some other things that happen, like you could end up with like a little bit of a rash, or you could end up with some cold or soft flu-like symptoms. And that happens sometimes when we start to clean up our diet, because in a sense what happens is, as you add in all this really healthy energy from the fruit and all these healthy nutrients from the food, from the vegetables and stuff, then your body starts going, wow, I feel really powerful for the first time. I can start to cleanse. And I think it's also important to remember that some people at this stage will actually start to lose weight. It's not by design that happens. There's other reasons for it. Most people will actually put on or maintain weight at this stage. That's absolutely fine. Even if you're here for weight loss, don't worry about that. As I said last week, relax. Everything is going to be okay. I also want to give you a little Alka-Geyser hack. Are you guys up for this? You see, I think some of you are going to begin to feel like, wow, this is a lot of shopping. This is a lot of shopping and a lot of food preparation. So I want to give you a little bit of advice about the Alka-Geyser. The one is, I want to suggest to you that you get a serious blender. I mean a real blender. I'm going to tell you that our 2 favorite blenders, our blenders of choice from a WildFit perspective, we do not currently have a marketing arrangement with them, so I'm offering you this just as my opinion. Vitamix and Blendtec. They can blend just about anything, and you'll find that there's a lot of reasons for having that. These smoothies often have really tough vegetables in them, and you want to be able to blend them up. And in future weeks, we're going to have recipes that might involve things that are really tough to blend. You might want to learn how to make almond butter, for example, and how cool would it be to be able to blend almonds. And the average blender, frankly, will die under the pressure of daily Alka-Geyser. So you might want to see about getting a really good blender, or try the one that you have. And another little hack that you want to consider with the Alka-Geyser is really cool. So what you do is you grab all the greens, say the kale and the spinach and that kind of stuff, and you blend them up on their own, and you might add a little bit of lemon juice to them. And then you take an ice tray and pour them into the ice tray and freeze the whole batch of them. Now, through the rest of the week, when you want to make your alkalizers, the green part of your alkalizer is already made. So you just take them out, the cubes out, throw them in the blender, add the other ingredients, and off you go. This can save you a ton of time in making your alkalizers. I hope that helps you. We call those cubes SAM cubes because our friend Sam taught us to do that. So if you want to use SAM cubes to speed up the process, then you absolutely should. And it brings up one more little hack about the alkalizer. Chewing is an important part of digestion. When we make an alkalizer, we're basically allowing the Vitamix to do the chewing for us, aren't we? This is an important thing because chewing is not simply about crunching it up, it's also about mixing it with our mouth digestive fluids, with our saliva that's beginning the digestive process. And so if you simply suck it down in a straw and swallow it, in a sense, you've skipped stage one. What would be ideal is that you kind of chew your smoothies. In other words, you drink it and kind of let it be in your mouth and chew it a little bit and then swallow it down. That would be ideal, so that you're allowing the smoothie to mix with your mouth fluids a little bit before you swallow it. Otherwise, those are your keys to having a great alkalizer. And let's recap for the week. What you're doing this week: fruit in the morning on an empty stomach, at least 2 to 3 pieces, more if you would like. An alkalizer mild in the morning. And try to do what you can to improve the quality of the proteins that you're eating. Maintain your existing diet exactly as it is, even including the stuff that we've added in. Pay attention to your dialogue. Notice how you talk to yourself about food. Notice how the conversation shifts this week. Because I'll tell you that as the other hungers start quietening up, the devil's going to lose power and the angel's going to get stronger, and you might find yourself actually walking away from some food items, and I don't want you to do it. If you have a food item that you would normally eat, and now you're thinking, I don't really want to eat it, you must eat it if you would like to have lasting change. That is your week ahead. I hope you enjoy it. It's going to be so much fun. It's going to create phenomenal lasting change. And of course, this week, we still have little daily videos every day to help guide you through the process. So I will see you tomorrow.